Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Brea Segger. She is an international recognized master of somatic emotional integration, guiding individuals and communities across the globe toward clarity, alignment, and inner freedom. She's also a retreat facilitator, podcaster, and a speaker. Gosh, I can't wait to see you everywhere sharing these things. I just read your bio off my screen. Thank you again, Bria, for being here. The question that I always ask everyone before we get started with the conversation: how would you introduce yourself? Who is Bria in this very moment?
Okay, that's a great question. I listen. I listen to myself, I listen to other people. And over the years, what that has turned into is just a deep, deep trust and knowing and not having to articulate it into words or definitions. And this includes with the people I'm working with or speaking with. It's allowing that deeper essence in us to just be felt and known. And the thing about that is it's easier said than done because to feel that, we need to feel safe enough to feel that. And I don't think that most of us right now at this time feel that deep sense of safety. It doesn't matter if we're female or male, we aren't feeling safe. We aren't feeling okay. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of things we have experienced in the past, our own traumas, our patterns, the systems from the infrastructures outside of us that have basically created this unsafety within ourselves. So I just like to listen and to be in the presence around people and myself that want to feel that okay and that safety again so that we can connect from that place and start to just show up in our life being like, I'm okay as I am right now. I'm okay.
Yes, I love that. And this process of okay is a moment to moment type of practice, right? It's not a
Mhm.
destination. Is it, Bria, something that we, or could be a destination? I'm wondering.
Well, I think having the idea that being okay and safe is possible sort of makes it like an outward destination in a way, except we don't really
Mm,
know what that is until we get there. But
mm,
just having that thought is sort of like all things in the world. They start with like I know there's got to be a different way, or I know what I'm doing isn't feeling correct. I know I'm not in alignment with my truth. I'm not showing up in my relationships how I want to. So, from that perspective, and I think there's always a dichotomy in everything, we're going to find that there's some sort of future oriented knowing that things could be different, but then the
mm.
actual work is in the moment. It's really like, am I okay right now, right here? Yes. But just saying that's not really enough. It has to be like getting to know that in the nervous system so it's embodied. So we're not having to think our way through it all the time.
Mm,
However, there
mm,
are times in our life where something like, let's just say we get in a car accident, there's something abrupt or a big fight with a partner, something, and it's
yeah,
like we're almost touching ourselves. It's almost like I'm still here, I'm okay, right? There's
yeah.
And again, it's right into the present moment, but sometimes we do have to let ourselves outwardly know we're okay, we're alive, and repeating that to ourselves too can be helpful at times.
Right. Almost like as a mantra, isn't it? Like I know I have a lot of mantras. I actually like asking about the angels, the divine, God, whatever it is. Just show me, show me the way. Show me like moment by moment too. But one of the the things that I have been very interested in lately is acceptance and surrender. Acceptance has been for a while. 30 years ago it started, but surrender, completely surrendering to this moment as is. So my question to you is there room for that? Even though we wanted to kind of feel better, do more, be more, and all that. But is there, how would you dance with this idea of surrender within this changing world and changing everything?
Yeah, it's so funny because that surrender is what allows us to be okay. So
Yeah.
it's extremely important. And at the same time, we're also like juggling with complacency too, right? We
Mm,
don't
yeah.
want to be sitting there in complacency and thinking that we can just sit there on our pillow the rest of our life and do nothing. We want to be
Yeah.
active participants in the world. But this is
Right.
where I think we get into that conversation around force, versus allowance. It's sort of like, I
Yeah.
imagine it this way, and you're in Kauai, so you'll understand this. And I'm in Costa Rica. I'm literally, there's still people surfing right now, even though it's getting
Mm,
it's getting dark.
yeah.
It's like the universe, that connection within us is the wave, right? Like it
Mm,
has everything. It has all that knowledge, and we as the surfer on top are connected to that. So we're not apart from it, but we don't get to control the wave. We surrender
mm,
into it, but we also get
mm,
to choose. Is this a right or a left? Is it a yes or a
mm,
no? You know,
mm,
is there something special we want to do? Do we want to do a flip at the top of the wave? Like,
yeah.
we're co-creators of it, but if we're doing it from a place that's in alignment with the wave, I think it gets to be more amazing than we can ever imagine. It's just that the media and the world has told us that amazing means that, like, maybe we're famous, maybe we have a lot of money. It has told us what that alignment is supposed to be like from an outward place. And we've
Right.
forgotten, like, what if that amazingness is just like our presence, our okayness, our energy, walking through the world with ease, right?
Mm,
Just being okay.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Yes, yes. I always say a billion times the truth. That's the truth. Yeah. Why can we be just okay? So we can get into that. That would be the egoic mind, the controlling. Has to do with almost like not being in touch with soul. So everything becomes so much harder because we're trying to force everything. But I would love to hear from you, like a good example of that. You speak of choice. Yes. Like in the case with the wave, I love the metaphor. So, how many options do we have? Do you call it intuition? And do we really have like unlimited options when it comes to that? Or, and if we choose not to be in alignment with life, with that wave, what would that look like?
Well, I think we all know that one. If we want to, we could think about current relationships, ex relationships, like our partners, either in relationship or out. I think those are like the easiest reflection we
Yeah,
have, like where
right,
everyone can kind of relate to that. Now we
right.
could take that farther into our relationship with our kids and our parents and our friends and our coworkers. But
Right.
for the simplicity of it, let's just talk about our partners or not having a partner. But let's just say we're in partnership
Yeah.
and we know we're out of alignment when we're controlling the other person, when we're trying to manipulate them into doing what we want them to do. We might
Mm,
even try, and again, we do this subconsciously. We're not like, oh, no one's going, I'm controlling my partner, or
right.
I'm trying to manipulate them. It's
Mm,
very subtle because it comes from a place of protection in ourself. We either aren't trusting them to have their own experience, or we're not
mm,
trusting that we can handle the result of their experience, right?
ah,
So let's just say we're in a partnership and and as women, we're two women talking. So say some man is like, I'm going out with the guys. I don't really care what you're doing. And, I'm thinking of like this younger version of
mm,
myself that was like so
yeah.
mad that he like was just going to go out, and like we had plans together and he canceled them and he's going to go out with his buddies for beer. Right. This
Yes.
is just like easy, but we could put this in anywhere. And so we have to allow ourselves to like feel into what is in alignment for me. Am I showing up how I want to show up? There's so much here. Like, am I trying to control him? Am
Mm,
I trying to change him? And what if I didn't change him? And what if I didn't control him? Then would I still think that, like, where am I at? Should I even be in relationship with this person? Am I being the best version of myself that I can be? Is there things for me to reflect on? Where am I not feeling safe? So there's so much around it, but knowing that, like, what if we just let the person be who they are? What if they just let us be who we are? And then we would become so honest and truthful with ourselves and with the other person that from there we might be able to decide, actually, this partnership isn't right. Like, this doesn't really nourish us both. This isn't, but we're making it from a different place, a decision based on love and understanding and empathy and compassion and really allowing ourselves and the other person to be who they are. But that's not really what we mostly do in relationships. We keep trying to change them to feel better about ourselves. And that's kind of what's underneath all of it. And why are we doing that? Because we want to feel safe. And again, this comes back to what we just have been missing as human beings for so long, not feeling safe, not feeling
Mm,
okay. Does that
so
make sense?
wow, beautifully said and so
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it resonates with me wholeheartedly. And I feel like it's not just relationships. We are actually doing that in life, in so many areas, sectors in life, almost everything, trying to control somehow so we feel good, we feel safe. Um, Gosh, that's where your work is really, really important, because that's what exactly what you do brings clarity, inner, inner, inner alignment, isn't it? I like to think that way more than alignment, inner alignment, because everything starts here, right, Bria, in
Mhm.
you, and then if you walk in life already knowing the ground that you stand on, then it's so much easier. It's a kind of because our perception changes anyway when we come from inner alignment, and it's easier to deal with whatever it is. Um, the question that I have for you, another question that I have here that I thought was last night, is well, this question is kind of very interesting to me because I feel that there's a difference between desire coming from the egoic self, the one that we have been talking about, that loves to control the wave and then change everything, and then the one that comes from calling, like the soul, something that has been asked from the soul, which I see it as a choiceless choice that I
Mhm.
have to do it. It's almost like I do it or I die. I have no other choice. So, talk to me about for you. I have the question here. I'll read so I can get it very clear. When did you know that being a master of somatic emotional integration was your calling?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I didn't, obviously at a young age, I wasn't like, when I grow up, I am going to do
Yes.
somatic work.
Yeah.
But I was very aware of energy and emotions, and I was very
Mm,
much paying attention to those around me at a very young age. And so this, and of course, but I didn't know what that was. I had no context from that. My parents were like, wow, this, they weren't like, this is a gift. They were like, this child's very strange. We should send her to a psychologist and figure out what's going on with her, right?
mm,
But what happened is, over the years, I did a lot of things I didn't like, and I was miserable. And just like most of us experience this, I'm now 46, but my teens, my 20s, even most of my 30s, although it really started shifting then, but was me just doing the things like
yeah.
working. And again, why was I doing all the things that we all know so well?
Mm,
Safety. I want to make money to be safe. I want to be in a relationship to be safe. I want to make sure everything in my exterior world is okay to be safe.
right.
Because even though I had, these gifts around energy and emotions and people, I was still dictated somewhat by the world at large, which tells us we're not safe, right? We can look at our education, our healthcare, our
Right.
government institutions. We can look at any of those telling
Mm,
us we're not okay and we're not safe. So we're bombarded by it from the greater systems outside. We're bombarded by it, unconsciously and unknowingly by our family and the way that we're often raised, or are in the school systems by our friends. Again, mostly all well intentioned.
true.
And then eventually I just realized, like, okay, what do I really want to do? And I'm like, I love being with people. I love that. And of course, as I looked back, when I was in my early 30s, mid into the mid 30s, this is all I'd been doing. Like, between all the work, between the merger and acquisition work, between all the travel, between all the businesses and growing different things, what was I really good at? Relationships, like understanding what people needed, whether that was in the business world, whether it was in their personal world. Everyone had been coming to me for advice since I was very young. I'm like, okay, what if this really just became my work, and what does that mean? And so instead of studying and taking courses and getting one more degree, and I have done little things over the years, I mostly just spent the next years coming into self-reflection. What would it be to just show up authentically me? Because when we do that, it's effortless and it's not work anymore. And this is the thing, it's like you on this podcast. There's nothing in your system right now that is like, I'm working hard. This is so hard. Like, it's just a natural expression of yourself, right? So that's in alignment because it doesn't feel like work. We know if something feels like work and it's repetitive, and this doesn't mean we don't experience hard things or like work sometimes isn't hard, but
Yeah.
my work, even if I'm holding a client and they're going through the most horrendous things or they've experienced the most horrendous things, there's nothing in me that feels like, oh my God, this is work. I wish I wasn't here. I wish I could change this. I wish I could. It just doesn't feel like that. And that is, like, to your point, that's around that calling. That's that inner sense. And I think as soon as we try to make that into something that we were taught or told, or some sort of institution or system told us it has to look like and has to be. I mean, this is why so many people don't like their jobs. They're showing up, doing what someone else tells them to do day in and day out. Well, that's not coming from an authentic creative expression within ourselves. Sometimes it is within certain dynamics in systems, but often it's not, And so that's really the difference to me. There's an effortlessness about it. It's not boring. It just feels so right.
Yes. Thank you again, Bria. Oh, I just love the way you are so clear with your not just answers, but you're coming from that place of truth. It's your own truth. So it's so easy to express them, right? Clearly. Since I talked to you on the phone, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh my God, I was just so uplifted after that conversation. I love talking to her. I wish she was close to me. I mean, I have
Well, you do live in one of the best places in the world, so
maybe you'll be here one day. I know you too,
yeah,
right? You
I
too. You
know.
have this beautiful place there. So, gosh, what's the next question here for those who don't know? What is like to go through a somatic emotional integration with you, or working with you at any level? I know you do so many things: private lesson sessions, one-on-one. You have the somatic therapy and nervous system alignment. You have somatic therapy, emotional integration for kids and teens, and then you have your programs too, and so many other offerings. But I would love to hear like a session, for example, for those who would love to kind of partner with you, because I see as a co-creation, isn't it? I love the partnership, even in healing or spiritual growth, that we just partner. So what would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're saying co-creating or partnering, because that's the old way of healing and helping each other was literally, I'm the healer, I'm going to fix you, and you're just passive, right?
Right.
And we know this doesn't work. We
No.
know gives you like a very quick fix, or not, sometimes actually the opposite
Right.
of what we intended, which, is a whole other conversation.
Yes.
However, I think we're moving beyond that now. I think we all have the capability now to realize that we need to empower each other. So I'm a space holder. I'm a mirror. I'm the reflection. But what is sort of the magic in that is that the calmness that's in my nervous system, and this is like comes to those invisible threads and those invisible connections between us, allows the person in my presence, whether that's on Zoom or whether that's in person, to feel the sense of safety, right? And when someone can feel a sense of safety within themselves, this starts to allow our nervous system to reset.
Right.
So, a typical session involves some talking, but not a lot. It's more of the presence of what's going on, and me just being that person holding space while they're allowed to express and say whatever's there. Because
Yeah.
also we don't have a lot of people that can hold some of the deep wounds and traumas and shame and pain that we hold without having a judgment for it. And even a lot of people that have their masters, their PhDs, their whatever, they haven't necessarily learned the art of space holding because they're still holding a lot of stuff in their system. And so there's not that clarity and calmness there. They might have all the skills on the outside, but being an actual space holder is something different. So, of course, one of my big passions in life is training and teaching others to be a space holder, not in my way, not the Brea Segger space holding way, but in their truth, their alignment way. And so, but anyways, back to a session. And then I have them lay down, and often they'll wear a sleeping mask if they feel comfortable with it. And that's only just to like really tell the body, hey, we're going to just go inside and we're going to allow ourselves to explore and be with what is. And there's no force. It's just them. And what happens in these like 70, 75-minute sessions is really profound. And that really has to do with the nervous system and that connection deeper within that's giving theirs that permission to realign, to slough off what's no longer needed, to let the neural pathways that are patterned, that are been holding them back in ways to, kind of lessen. And those new neural pathways, or the ones that we want to be kind of like, call it thicker or wider or more strong or firing faster, which now we do have some beautiful science on where they can actually see that that's happening. We want those to be able to have permission to do that, so that we're coming from a place of safety, not fear, that we start to have trust, love within ourselves, and we can move from that place. So that's sort of a typical session, but they're all so, of course, different because it's based on each person I'm working with and what they need. But yeah, never in a forced way, and never in me. I'm not doing the thing. I'm not waving a magic wand or moving energy around with my hands. It has nothing to do with that. It's simply giving their system permission. So that's a very,
Wow.
I didn't think it was a different way of working,
Yeah.
but I realized it is. And I realize not a lot of people
Yeah.
are doing that yet. And I think that's mostly because they don't quite have that trust in themselves as a space holder that they're enough to show up from that place, or the trust enough in the person they're working with that that person's be okay. Because
Mm,
we were all trained, like
yeah.
say you're a psychologist, a counselor, a Reiki healer, any sort of thing. We were all trained. Your patient comes in and you want them to leave better. But what
Mm,
if we release that outcome? Because that outcome puts a pressure and a sort of force on their system as well as our own. And guess what's happening in the
right.
energetic world? It's talking and it's saying back and forth, we need an outcome. There's pressure. We're not okay. We got to make change. So soon as we do that subconsciously, unconsciously, or in the unspoken word,
Mm.
we're unknowingly kind of harming each other in a way, and not that it's like a great harm. It's just that there's a different way, but we do have to be in a place of trust to do that.
Yes. Wow, you said so much there that resonates true to me. I'm trying to unpack all that. The piece of fear is a big one, and calming the nervous system. I love the way. So, yeah, you have the somatic therapy and nervous system alignment, and you also have the emotional integration. So, emotion and nervous system, they go together again. So, it's very much you're tapping into that. For me, what comes up a lot is the heart. Are you familiar with the secret of the golden flower
No, I'm
technique?
not. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a very ancient kind of practice from the Tao. And basically, they ask you, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but it's basic circulation of the light, basically the being, the essence that we are. So we do like this meditation, and then it goes from the third eye, and then goes down to the heart, and then all the way to the bottom, and then back to the spine and up. So you kind of imagine that way. But the whole thing about is that we can crystallize this spirit. And then for that to happen, the heart needs to die. And then I was like, oh no, I won't be able to feel again. I love feelings. I love to feel. I'm a feeling ball. And then in a sense, I actually love, the even being present when my nervous system is dysregulated by excitement, by joy. Now, something's about to happen that's really beautiful, and then you can't sleep at night. And then you start, the brain starts to just, the mind start to think, a little bit too much about what to do and how to do it, the next step, and or kind of repeating itself, how wonderful this thing is, and and then you can't sleep. So that's my question to you. According to this technique of the golden flower, the idea is that our heart needs to go. That means we have to detach for so many things. Like you have children, and I'm thinking I don't, but I was thinking, God, for a mother, that must be the hardest thing to do, to create this emotional distance between her and her children. Is that something that you resonate with? Because I have to say, I love the heart energy, and I'm always like in full acceptance of it, even when it's a little bit dysregulated. It dysregulates my nervous system. Yes.
Well, I'll put it into my own words, and we'll see if there's a resonance with that or not. So I actually did a post on Instagram today, which is so funny, but it was about the aligned heart versus the emotional heart. So when we come from the emotional heart, our life is sort of volatile, where we sort of define ourselves based on our emotions. Like, I'm happy, I'm joyous, I'm experiencing love, and we put sort of a definition that is good. I'm
Right.
good because I'm feeling that. And then I'm sad, I'm jealous, I'm mad, I'm in pain. I'm bad then, right? Like, I'm not good
Yeah.
enough. So
Right.
this is so our emotion, so then we find ourselves going up and down all day long because our emotions often come in spontaneously. We
Yeah.
don't really know suddenly, like, why we're driving in the car, and we're sad or we're mad. Like, we could just be there and we think of something, but a lot of it's quite spontaneous,
Right.
versus the aligned heart, which is, it's just a deep knowing. It's, as we were talking about before, coming from that deep inner alignment, and it's
Mm,
much more stable because it doesn't really care about the emotions. It sees the
mm,
emotions as part of the human
mm.
experience,
That
but it's
that's
not
right.
defined by those emotions, right?
Right.
So it's a little
Right.
bit different. And
Mm,
so when I think about it with my kids,
yeah.
of course, like, that emotional connection, can never be severed. It's so incredibly strong.
Right.
However, I, as a parent, it's also my job to make sure that I do not try to control them or make them into something that I want for their own safety. It's giving them the autonomy that they are their own being. And yes, we're connected and always will be, but we don't really, if we think back to when we were kids, right? We didn't really want our parents telling us what we had to be when we grew up, how we should act, how we should sit at the dinner table. Like, most of us got a lot of rules, a lot of direction, and somehow we had to sludge through all of that, and we're still trying to figure out who we are, right? And so it came from a good place because they wanted us to grow up and be safe and be okay. And so a lot of us are still putting the same thing onto our children today, right? We've somewhat changed, but we're not fully there yet. We realize we don't really want to do that, but a lot of us are still repeating those same patterns. And really, we want to know that, like, coming from that aligned heart means we're seeing them for who they are and we're supporting them in the best possible way we can without our stuff getting in that way. And we're just seeing the emotions, like, yes, the emotions is part of the human experience, right? When we're not here, I don't think we have these emotional roller coasters. I think we leave our mind here. I think we leave our body here, and I think we leave our emotions here when we die. So we're that aligned heart, we're the presence, we're the infinite creative potentiality within that gets
Right.
to have this human life and have an array of emotions. And
Mm,
this kind of allows us to be able to experience them without such attachment or giving them the good or bad, the positive or negative, right? And what
right.
happens is, once we start to allow those negative emotions to just be there and we don't judge them so hard, we actually start to get less of them because we're not holding on to that so tight. We're not judging them so much. And we start actually moving into positivity more without trying to have to move into positivity more, which is, like, so hard for us to get, right? Because we've been taught for so long positive thinking, positive doing, like, make it there, make the other stuff. We don't really want it, step away from it. But we know that doesn't really work because we know it's still there and we know it still comes up. So I think we got to shift our perception around that.
That's so true, though. It's something that we talked when we talked for the first time on the phone. I remember you saying that. That's one of the things that I also remember. Usually, I remember the almost the frequency, like the energy, the almost the scent of the of my encounters when I meet somebody. It just stays with me. You know, sometimes it's elevating, like in your case, in so many people that I meet. But this, I remember you saying that we don't take, and that's true, we don't take the body, we don't take our emotions, we don't take the content of the mind, but we do take the impressions we had here. That's what I heard according to Vedanta. Is that something that you resonate with? The idea that the impressions, the strongest impressions of our reincarnation, of our existence here, they will move on to other bodies and have almost the same experiences again and again and again and again for thousands of times.
Yeah, I just like to think of it without it feeling like I like to think about it as more as like beautiful soul fragments rather than like this one thing stays like this. So like let's imagine like we have this idea that grandma dies and then grandma's in the sky, you know, knitting or doing whatever it was that grandma liked to do. And we kind of have this idea like it almost like it keeps her as a singularity and stuck in that. And so I think that it's so much more. Infinite means infinite. So
Mm,
maybe as a whole, and maybe as something that is experiencing so much, we take those impressions and we take those parts. But I see it like an infinite blueprint that's available with so many different frequencies and connection points. And so I'm not overly concerned about what we take or what we don't take because I think that's just naturally a part of what is available.
mm,
And, you know, so much of it, like even our experience now on Earth, has to do with just what the Earth, where the Earth's frequency is at, where we're at it as humanity. And we're all feeling this shift and we know something is changing, even if we can't quite put our finger on it. And so I don't think we need to like figure that out. I think it's more of like we're realizing the seamlessness between death and life and how like death is actually our reality and this is just this little thing we get to experience. And it is important, and also at the same time we can let go of like we are so important as an individual. Maybe our importance is just to be ourself. That's
mm,
what I think. It's just like, can we be us? And what is ourself? It's the
mm,
truth. It's living in alignment. It's not being dictated by what everyone else, by all the patternings, by all the
mm,
conditioning, by everything else that we've learned. If we can just be ourselves, there's such ease in our life. And I think that's what a lot of us are missing. And to be ourselves means we also feel safe enough to be ourselves and we feel okay enough to be ourselves. There's a lot
mm.
there.
Wow. Yes. I think about nature, like trees, right? Like we are so unique in that expression of truth that you speak of, the unique expression that we can't, like I can't be you, it cannot be me. Like a mango tree cannot be an orange tree, cannot give orange. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see it. That's true. As for what you mentioned about it's not as important, and I like that. It's not as important to think about what we take or we don't take, but what we experience here, right? What's the potential of that truth, the unique truth of each one of us right here, right now, that you call potential, right? The potentiality and presence, those two.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What would that look like? Like, yeah, for me is having these conversations. Oh my God, I just love it's like the way to honor say the sacred. We're talking about the infinite things in a very limited way, using language in our bodies and all, something that will go, but we are still honoring something that's beyond you and me. That's
Mm-hmm.
greater than great, right? It's
Yeah.
out there. So for some reason, and that feels I talked to you off record just today that feels very soft too. I don't know if that's just me, but and I love the way you said it's softer than that when I give that. I love that. That would be a good, great book, Bria. If you think about writing one, softer than soft, that would be truth. Oh my God, I'd love to kind of read that book. Make it shorter too. That would be even better. So, yes, what was I saying? Yeah, so for me has been any way that I can honor the infinite, this energy, this invisible world that is as real or even more real than you and I having this conversation. And it's very, very soft to me, the way that I can explain and I can sense that in others when and I see that in nature, of course. So that's why I'm here, like everywhere, is so soft. The silence is very soft. And that's when like I heard, when you speak, make sure that you match silence, that you're coming from silence. So you'll be as soft as silent is. So maybe the non-violent way might be that too. But talk to me for a moment about that. I said way too many things at once.
Okay, we'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Funny. Well, as soon as we get caught up in what we're going to take or not take or what it needs to look like, this is where we start getting those human emotions of shame. We're not doing enough. We're not good enough. And then that actually takes us into a very dark and heavy cycle. And we end up being on probably a frequency we don't really want to live in. And again, it's our choice. If we want to stay living in that kind of place, we can always feel like we're not enough, we're not doing enough. When we die, we're not going to get to where we're going to go, or we're going to leave our ancestors with the wrong thing, or the generations
Yes.
after us aren't going to be okay, you didn't
Yeah.
heal enough for the generations prior to. Like, we just get ourselves caught into a really hard negative cycle, again with good intentions, because we're like, but we're just trying we're trying to fix everything and heal everything and
Yes.
just make it okay, right? And it's having the opposite effect. The tree is not thinking to itself, what am I going to take? What am I not? Am I enough as this tree? Am I not enough as this tree? I mean,
Mm,
nature
yes.
doesn't have this.
Yes.
The elephant isn't asking this. Our dogs aren't asking this. They're just
Mm,
showing up and being. And for some reason, they're okay just being an authentic expression of themselves, and we're not. And yet, I think that's really all we need to do. But it's hard. It's hard for us because our mind is being, somewhat manipulated and controlled by an exterior environment of all the things
mm,
we
mm.
talked about before, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
harder for us. Our mind gets in the way of that. And so this is really what my work is all about. It's about, like, let's just let the mind go to the back. We're not going to ignore it. We're not going to
Yeah.
pretend it's not yipping away. We're not going to do that. But
Yeah.
we're also not going to pay attention to everything it says, because a lot of what it says is really just junk that is picked up. You guys know, everyone, you can go through your mind today what it said. A lot of it was just junk. It told you all sorts of things about yourself, probably
Yeah.
negative. It said a lot of stuff about other people, probably negative. It had a lot of perceptions about the world, probably negative,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So one, it has a default to the negative, and this is because of our external environment. And so what I'd like to share with people is, like, we want to go beyond that. We don't want to fight the mind because it's going
Mm-hmm.
to keep doing the thing, but we just don't want to listen to it so much either. We want to get to know that space beyond words within ourselves, which is kind of scary because there's no words there, and we go, I don't know if I can do that. There's nothing to do. It's a gentle allowance. It's just a beingness. It's starting to sit in stillness, not even having to meditate. It's nothing to do with that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
starting to be with ourselves more, as much as possible, really.
Wow. See, that's a profound, profound and important message and reminder, right? Just being this silent everything, that's so powerful, that's already here, that's being, it's our being. Right. We don't need to become anything in order to be worth it, in order to feel better, in order to be okay or safe. We already are, actually. we are what we are looking for. That goes back to that. It sounds so simple, but it's like you just said, it's not that
It's
simple.
so simple but so hard. And I think I say that every single day. It's the simplest thing, right? And yet so
Yeah,
hard. But yet when we're in that place, we're like, wow, it's really simple.
it is.
But
Oh my
what we need
God.
to
Oh my
go
God.
through to get to the simplicity is wild. It really
Mm,
is.
yeah. So that's what your work is about, and the work of so many people that I am in touch with and I love, because it's the work of unblocking those conditions, those programmings, so we can go back to our true self, to the nature, to what we already are. Um, and then with that in mind, I want to mention two things that for me has been very interesting as a blockage. One has been the overculture, like trying to be or to integrate, to be accepted by the culture. So that's my own culture, Brazil, that I was born and raised. The women, they were just so fanatic about the way they looked. And then specific parts of the body, their booties had to be like big and rounded, and the legs. Oh, at some point, I remember as a teenager, I just got fed up with all of it. And I thought it was just so silly. This is so silly. And I was really, really young. And I just said, oh, no, enough with that. And then I was just so happy to meet my husband, American husband. And then he said, let's go to United States. Like, oh, no, that would be an interesting culture. And then I come here and I see even more disconnection and distortions when it comes to program again. And I'm like, oh no. And then now I had to be, my hair had to be in a certain way, and then don't go to the sun too much, because I was in Miami, so that was the first place that I landed here. And then you cannot get too dark, because if you get too dark, people will judge you. Now you'll be like considered black, and that would be a problem. Oh no! And then I was, I mean, there's so many layers of those blockages that took me years to just kind of realize that they were blocking my true self. That alone was just kind of a blockage on top of a blockage, ignorance of being blocked. That was another thing. I couldn't see that I was being blocked. And then also the unmothered child. Have you heard about the term unmothered?
No, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing that a lot of people don't know. It's Jungian psychology. So basically, for some of us, my case, didn't have the love of a mother. The beautiful, beautiful space that you spoke of earlier, about the safe space, as a space holder. That's what mothers do. So they teach us at a very early age that we are safe to be what we are, being vulnerable, extremely vulnerable, like babies, and they just give you what you need, just what you need to feel safe. It's okay to be vulnerable, and then they guide us with so much love and care, and I mean, everything else in between. I know we need a presence of a male too to teach us certain things, but I still have to say that the mother, they hold the key to to unlock those blockages later on. That will just end, or not only end, but that will prevent so many of those blockages if we are mothered. So I haven't been mothered, and so many people I know have not been mothered. So for us, that's a very, very, very challenging layer to unblock, because now we walk in life looking for love. And then we'll do anything. Some of us, like myself, will just do anything for love, to feel loved, to be accepted. And that's how we get lost. That's how I got lost so many times. So yeah, I would love for you. There's so much there too, but I would love for you to maybe.
Well, I love that term. I haven't heard the term before, but yes. I mean, because this is the thing. This is why some people are even hesitant to, I think, even go into the world, like self work or work with some sort of guide or teacher, is because I see this a lot. They compare themselves. Well, maybe my mother didn't show up for me, but other people had it worse because they were beaten or sexually abused,
Okay.
or they experienced all this trauma. So who am I to think that I'm not okay? But when we look at the brains of developing children, it it's almost the same results from, from being physically, verbally, emotionally abused to being unmothered, to not being held,
Mhm.
to not being
Mhm.
seen, to not feeling we're okay.
Yes.
In all these cases, it creates a baby, perhaps, even from that place, the mother not coming to nurse when the baby's crying, right? This like
Yes, yes.
this crack in the system that's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not okay, I'm not safe. But this
Mhm.
continues on through childhood, through our school years of I'm not okay, I'm not safe. And so whether that's like obvious abuse or neglect, or whether it's just that the mother wasn't there to say like, or to just show us, it doesn't even have to be words as much as just that
Right,
energetic
right.
being there and that presence, it
Yeah.
has that same result. And this is why none of us really feel safe, right? None of
Mhm.
us really
Yeah.
feel okay. And yet we don't really realize that, because just like myself in the story I was sharing earlier, and probably you and most of our listeners, is like we start creating things on the outside. We
Right.
start working, maybe we become really good at school, maybe we turn to alcohol and drugs, maybe we go buy the fancy house, maybe we think a husband's going
Mhm.
to save us. We just do
Mhm.
anything on the external to try
Yeah.
to bring that safety that we didn't feel when we were younger. And
Right.
so, yeah, I think this is just so relevant to our entire culture and where we're at. And to your point, yeah, I think the mother is the key. I think the leadership of the father in a healthy masculine way is extremely important. But that nurturing aspect that you're really talking about, that comes from the mother. And of course, if we take it into those feminine masculine dynamics, the feminine within all of us has been very wounded. The masculine within all of
Mhm.
us has been very wounded.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we're just figuring out how can we like rebuild this and have a deep forgiveness for all
Yes.
of this, and our past, in the past, in like our family dynamics when possible. And this
Yeah.
doesn't forgiveness, by the way, doesn't mean like I'm gonna go and live with my mom, right? If she's
No, no,
still,
no, no, no.
you
Yeah.
know, it's not
No.
it's
Yes.
not that, but it's like this deep understanding of the traumas that our generations past have been through, which have now, they are where they are, we are where we are. And it's this forgiveness of ourself, compassion for ourselves, and start to
Mhm.
understand why people are behaving the way they
Mhm.
are, and how much fear is in people's system, how much unsafety is in people's system. It doesn't make their actions okay. This
Right.
isn't to say they get to do whatever they want. It's not that. It's just that we start to understand it more when we really see it within ourselves. We hold all of
Mhm.
this within ourselves, and
Mhm.
we can have that compassion for other people, including our family members that might have really hurt us. Not saying we need to make amends with everybody. That's not what that's about at all.
Right, right. Thank you for saying that too, because yeah, it has been my case of not going back. Right. Because
Hmm.
no, 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 I wouldn't go back because
Yeah.
my mother, as a young mother that she was, immature and did all the things she didn't really grow to become a good mother to herself, even. So that's what I went back. I learned how many years ago? Maybe 15 years, 10 years ago, in a powerful way, that I had to mother myself.
Yeah.
I had to grow this new mother inside of me because I didn't have the one outside, and then I couldn't go back to her. I think some of us might be able to do that. Forgiveness is very important to you. I talk to my mother every day, and that's not a I don't have any problems with that, but it was crucial that I nurtured that mother in me. So
Yeah.
oh, it made a huge difference. And every day, that's what I do. So there's I think they call, in psychology, they call, you got reparenting or parenting yourself.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, in younger psychology, they do talk about the unmothered
Yeah.
child, but that's, I guess, a lot of people don't know about it. And a lot of people don't know about Vedanta too, which is interesting. Maybe that would be an idea too, Bria, I thought we can explore that topic. I don't know. I want to explore that topic more. If you do any more, if you kind of become interested in this topic, it'll be wonderful to do a collaboration where we can have like a series of video interviews or audio for Audible to talk about the unmothered. I really, because that's
Hmm.
my own experience and I see that everywhere. I see that with so many people
It's
everywhere.
such a broad topic. I would love to do that because I think it is so important. And it really is, it's sort of like, it's the ground of where we're all coming from, right?
Yeah.
We feel a deep pain even if we can't articulate it, often starting from being babies, sometimes in
Yeah.
utero, right? Picking up on what our mother's emotional stance was in utero. And we
Yeah.
don't need to like have the memory. It's not about remembering everything or figuring out all the times our mom didn't come to us when we were crying. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But it's starting to understand ourselves and the deep wounds that we're holding within us that then come out as control, manipulation. I'm not good
Mhm.
enough. I'm
Mhm.
shy. I'm shrinking. I'm not going to show up. I
Yes.
don't, I'm going to keep doing this job I hate because I don't feel like I'm going to be okay if I don't, right? It keeps us in repetitive patterns in all sorts of ways in life. And I
That's
don't think this is how we're really supposed to be living.
Oh my God, no. That's what happens. I call it the hunger. And there's a lot of people talking about this too that I have heard. So it feels like a hunger. We're so hungry, starving for that kind of love that's so essential, fundamental, that
Yeah.
we tend to just give ourselves to anything that will offer the glimpse, the shadow, the tiny piece of that of that love. We're so hungry that we would just do anything. That I have seen that so much in myself, and I have seen that with others, that I feel so much compassion for the younger me that would do anything. I mean, it was so
Mhm.
starving. She was just, and I still see it in people around me, and I just can't help it but do this as a choiceless choice. Kind of let's educate ourselves, perhaps, in a playful way. Maybe we can just
Yeah.
talk about these things openly, and who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe
Yeah,
we'll.
I love that. And I love talking about the emotions that we experience that we don't want to talk about, right?
Right.
Like the amount of people I work with that feel so much shame
Yeah.
around things, and then when they say the thing, they start to realize, wow, like it wasn't that bad. Like it's okay. Like it was bad at that time. Like it felt awful at the
Yeah.
time. But now when we start to see it from a different place, we realize we don't need to hold any shame around that anymore. And so many people are holding so much and have so many secrets, and
Mhm.
and I love to talk about this sort of stuff and just start to make it like the okayness around it, the reality around it, like the what different people are experiencing and going through and holding, so we can
Mm.
start to realize like it's everybody. Like we're
Yes.
all holding shame and
Mhm. Mhm.
jealousy and greed, and I want to be better off, and like all the
Yeah.
things. And a lot of it, it's not with bad intentions. It's not unconscious. It comes back down to safety, and we can try and understand that, and then we can have that compassion for it. But we do need to talk about it.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We're almost at the end, and I would love to just keep going. Like I said, I could just stay with you forever. And some of my guests, I just can't help it. It just feels like, again, honoring something that's very, very important, that's essential, that's sacred. So I almost forget about time. And I'm always late, I have to say, for that reason too. So I
Sorry.
want to mention your website, briasegger.com. It will be clickable on the podcast notes, also on the website will be there. So I have all your services here, the private sessions, the somatic therapy, nervous system alignment. You have the programs, you have retreats, you have a podcast called Self Woven, and you have a free membership sign up too. That's on your website, briasegger.com. So I want to thank you for your beautiful presence again, and for your clarity, and for doing this work that's very much needed. Honoring something that means so much, not just to me, but I think it's at the heart of humanity. We need to heal our hearts. And I go back to the softness again, which has to do with the mothered. So even if we are 100 years old, I believe we can always go back to that place, before we let the body here, we leave the body here. Bria, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that you left unsaid for the end of this conversation?
No, thanks for having me on. It's been so nice getting to know you over the last few weeks, and I'm looking forward to more. I love what you're doing and your energy, so it's important. So I just
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, and appreciate
Yeah,
you, and appreciate everybody
thank you.
listening right now. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk again. We'll be in touch again. Take good care.
Sounds
Bye for
great.
now. Aloha.
Bye.
Bria. Bye.